Good morning to Eagle class at Thriftwood School and to your fantastic, amazing teacher, Mrs. Evanson. Hello, my name is Alistair Humphreys and I am an adventurer and an author. I've been writing some books, written The Boy Who Biked the World, The Girl Who Rode the Ocean, Great Adventurers about my adventure heroes, and my newest book for children, Against the Odds. Because things aren't always easy and sometimes you have to overcome hard things to have cool adventures. So thank you so much for reading my books. I really appreciate it. You've sent me some brilliant questions and I'm going to get on and answer them. Aidan says, where did I look forward to seeing the most? Ooh, good question. When I cycle around the world, I really was looking forward to seeing the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. It's really famous and I was looking forward to cycling over that for sure. You also asked what my favourite continent was. It's really hard to choose a favourite continent, of course, because they're huge and different and you could spend a life on any one of them. But I think probably Africa was my favourite, probably because it was my first continent. Everything seemed big and crazy and exciting then. Megan wants to know about my favourite food and did I get into trouble? I never got into trouble, Megan. I was a very good boy. My favourite local food? Oh, I think it's going to have to be China, just for cycling along and stopping at a little roadside cafe. If you think in England, a roadside cafe, you get a service station or a petrol station that sells sort of slightly rubbish sandwiches in plastic. In China, the little food stalls are huge pans sizzling with food and giant bowls of noodles bubbling away, and really cheap and really delicious. And when you go really west in China, mega spicy too. Bo, did you get sunburns and what equipment did you take? Good question. Well, some equipment I took was a big sun hat. I didn't actually, some parts of the world it would seem a bit rude or at least weird to wear shorts. So I wore long trousers and a long shirt just to be polite in some parts of the world, and that then helped me with sunburn. And then I wore little cycling gloves, so I didn't really have much sunburn there. So the only sun cream I'd put on was just on my nose. Got a big nose, big red nose sticking out. Equipment, I had to take my camping gear, my sleeping gear, things to cook, lots of water bottles, and tools to fix the bike. And that was about it. And a diary to write what I was seeing, and a camera to take some pictures. Sorry, I keep rubbing my eyes. That is because I've just got out of bed. Oh, I'm quite tired. Ladasi, Ladasi. That's a cool name that I've never heard before. I'm sorry that I almost certainly said it wrong, but nice name. And you know what? You've got a name that I've never seen before, and a question I think I've never heard before. How many pairs of shoes did you go through when cycling around the world? I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. I think I got through 2 pairs of shoes. You don't really wear through your shoes. I got through 20 pairs of tyres, only 2 pairs of shoes. What was the worst place you had to go to the toilet? Well, you might think Siberia, which is -40 and quite cold to pull down your pants in the middle of nowhere. And you know, public toilets are sometimes absolutely disgusting and they stink. But when you've got to go, you've got to go. In Siberia, they sometimes had these the little villages I stayed in didn't have toilets inside because they didn't have plumbing. Because all the plumbing would freeze in the winter, so out in the garden they just have a garden shed with a toilet in there, which might be a bit stinky. Except in Siberia, all the poo froze completely solid, so you just have these giant frozen lumps of poo, which looked gross, but at least were not smelly. So that was not the worst place. I think the worst place was probably in Alaska or the Yukon, which you might think is a lovely open place to go to the toilet, but summertime, mosquitoes, so many mosquitoes attacking your bottom when you go to the toilet. So that was pretty horrible. Tyler, how heavy was my bike and did I become unwell? My bike, when it had all my stuff on, I could just kind of lift it like this off the ground. And if I really had to, I could go to lift it over a fence or something. So it's pretty heavy. Did I become unwell? Well, I was on my bike for 4 years. So everyone in 4 years, you get a cold, you get a cough, you get a little bit sick. So I had a little bit of that, but nothing ever major. I was pretty fit, I was pretty healthy, and I was eating lots of fruit and vegetables and drinking water. So a pretty healthy diet, really. Who took the pictures? Me, Bryony. I took all the pictures of my adventures. So I have a self-time to take the pictures. And how did I manage £7,000 for 4 years? Yeah, £7,000 sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? But actually, if you divide it up by 4 years, then it's less money than each one of us spends in a year. So it's a pretty cheap way to live a life. And I did that by, well, I didn't have to pay for transport because I was just cycling. I didn't have to pay for a bus or a train. I didn't have to pay for hotels because of my tent. I didn't often pay for restaurants or cafes. I'm tired. I didn't often pay for restaurants or cafes because I had a little cooker. So it's a pretty cheap life, really. Thomas says, where did the UK did you start from, and did you meet anyone famous? I started from my mum and dad's house in the Yorkshire Dales. That's where I started and finished. Did I meet anyone famous? In Sudan, in Africa, I was at a like a fairground thing, and then suddenly the crowd staring at this person. He was a super mega famous TV star in Sudan. He was on like the Sudan version of EastEnders. I know. So I met this guy. I'd never seen him before, and I can't remember his name. Which is a good reminder that celebrities, famous people, are just normal people. And we get excited about them, but they're just normal people going to the fairground. So everyone else got excited about this Sudanese TV star, but I can't remember his name. Faith, did you get your hair cut? And did you enjoy the adventure? And did you want to come home? Did I get my hair cut? So when I set off, I chopped off all my hair, really like a bald basically. And then when I got to the end of Africa, it was really big. And then someone there cut off my hair for me. And then I cycled all the way to Peru. I was going to go all the way to Alaska with a haircut, but for some reason I got to Peru, this little village, and they had a hairdresser place, a really simple little place, but it had one of those posters up that you've seen hairdressers of all these people looking really cool and amazing with amazing haircuts in this really simple, basic little village. So I went in there and they cut all my hair off, and that went to Alaska. Then I got to Russia and someone shaved my head. Who cut my hair in Russia? I can't remember. Anyway, I was basically bald. And then when I got home, I had crazy hair and I cut it into a mullet, a massive mullet. So I had a year and a half of hair and I cut off all the top and sides short and just had it really long and curly at the back. My mum hated it. And you also asked, did I enjoy it? Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was fantastic. But I did also want to come home a lot. I was lonely. 4 years without seeing your friends and family. 4 years living in a tent, 4 years working hard every day in places you don't know. So I often wanted to come home. But I kept going because I knew that this was hard. It was a hard thing to do. But if I could make myself keep going, I knew that at the end I'd feel really proud about it and I'd feel really good that I'd achieved this difficult thing. So that encouraged me to not give up and keep going. Isaiah says, what was the scariest part of your mission? How did you cope with the sand in the deserts? The scariest part was being on my own for so long, just not having any friends and just turning up in a town knowing nobody and having to just talk to strangers and then they would become friends. So that was probably the scariest part. Sand in deserts was a nightmare. You on a bike, you need to push your bike, push. Sorry, push the bike through the sand. That was really hard work. But you know what? A desert is really good because you can't get hungry there. Why can't you get hungry in the desert, Al? Because of all the sandwiches there. Sandwiches? Do you get it? That's funny. Sean says, how many injuries did you get? Did you get a new bike? I didn't really get any injuries, but I did get a new bike. I got through 3 bikes in 4 years. And Riley wants to know about the bike. It wasn't that expensive. It cost £400, and it was called a Specialized Rock Hopper. And what I wanted was just a simple, strong bike. I didn't want like suspension and fancy things that would break down. I wanted a bike that if it broke down in the middle of a poor part of the world, that I could fix it. Because people ride bikes all over the world, but they don't ride fancy ones. So you need simple bike that you can replace with simple parts in other parts of the world. So it's just a strong, simple bike. Riley says, how often did I wash? Not very often. I often jumped in rivers or lakes, but I quite often didn't wash for, well, my record was a month. I didn't wash for a month in China. And then one day I was in this little cafe in China. I had my lunch, it was very nice, paid my money, and then the lady walks out with a big bowl of water. What's she doing? And a bottle of shampoo. And she said to me, wash your hair. So imagine next time you go to a restaurant, you eat your meal, and then the waitress comes out and says, you're a bit smelly, wash your hair. So I washed my hair in this cafe. Very embarrassing. And then I set off smelling all delicious and lovely. Sebastiano says, how many countries do you visit and what do you do in Japan? One of your favourite countries? I went to 60 countries, and Japan, like you, is one of my favourite. Let me show you my coffee cup. Maybe I need a cup of coffee to stop me yawning. Look. I've got a coffee cup with all the different kinds of sushi. I love Japan. I cycled the whole way from the top to the bottom. I ate lots of sushi. I went to watch sumo wrestling. I stayed with lots of kind families. I went to the hot springs. It's a good place for not being smelly, to go back to what Riley said, because in most small towns there are hot baths where you can go along to and get lovely and clean and fresh. Yeah, I like Japan. It's a very nice place. Erin says, did I get fed up eating banana sandwiches? Yes, definitely. I was looking forward to, I did enjoy eating banana sandwiches, but I was also looking forward to getting home and not eating them. Did you keep in touch with them when you met on your journey? A little bit. A lot of people I met on my journey were really poor. They didn't have addresses or phone numbers or email addresses or Instagram accounts. So I never kept in touch with them. I just came into their lives, had a really nice time, and then said thank you, goodbye, and off I went. A few people I think still follow me on Instagram or Facebook and things, but mostly it was just a nice experience, and then I went. Well, they were fantastic questions. Thank you very much for asking me those excellent questions. I hope you've enjoyed reading the book. I hope it might encourage you to plan some adventures of your own. Because you know what? You don't need to go all the way around the world to be an explorer or an adventurer. I think if you look on a map of where you live, all of our country is on these maps. They're called Ordnance Survey maps, and they just show the towns and villages where you live. And I reckon your school will actually have one of where you guys are right now. If you look on that map, I think you will be able to find within 1 mile, 2 miles of your house or your home, somewhere you've never been to before. And maybe for a school trip or at the weekend with your family or in the holiday or sometime, you can go, say, there's a park 2 miles from my house that I've never been to. I want to go there and see it. And if you do that, you're being an explorer, just like going to China, because there is adventure and nature and beautiful things everywhere. You've just got to go and find them. And you can do that right wherever you happen to live. Right, on that note, good luck with your adventures. I'm going to go have some coffee. I also think I need to brush my hair as well. Right, time for the day. I am now getting on with writing a new book, by the way. When I write my books, it's a bit like doing homework. I write my book, and then I print it out, and then I find all the mistakes. I scribble all over it, find all the mistakes, and then I have to type it up and fix it. So this, hopefully, in about a year, will become something like this, a book. So that's it. I'm going to get down onto my job of writing a book. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.